What's up, my YouTubers? So I know it's been a little while since I've done a video update on Project Dark Horse. Let me flip this camera around for you. So the only real progress that I've made lately, because I've had a lot of work doing a lot of scape ops for trying to get the fuel farm up and running at work, dealing with hypergalls, hydrazine in particular. I think I did paint the forks, got a little motorcycle battery in there, but it's a little small. I think I can go a little bit bigger on the battery. We did get a little cover, and I'll show you guys what I mean by this. Is not an actual fuel tank. Obviously there's no fuel cap, nothing to put fuel in. It's just held in there with two little rubber grommets up here. If I could pull this off. Yeah, trying to, come on, you little devil. But it's just an empty shell held in with those two pins in those two little rubber grommets. Now I'm gonna set this aside, but get these out of here. So you guys remember in my last video I talked about how I wanted to utilize this space for possibly a fuel tank, and I was going to have to make some structure, like a frame or something, to hold a fuel tank in here, but it's got to be small enough that I could fit it under that airbox cover. I'm going to switch gears here a little bit. I've decided I'm going to put all my electronics in here. So using my template, this was going to be kind of a pattern for a fuel tank, like the top and bottom. But I think what I'm going to do is actually use this same template for like a floor. And that'll give me a place to mount relays, power distribution blocks. And I think I'm going to make it out of just some black carbon fiber. I don't think I'm going to go with the fancy red stuff that I had on the go-kart, because this will all be under a cover for the most part. You won't see it unless I pop the cover off, but it'll be lightweight, strong, heat resistant. And one thing I did notice, this is about the same size as an oil tank that I will mount to the front of the frame. So I can actually use this same template to make my oil tank. I just got to make some tabs so I can mount it. I think the original radiator might have mounted up here, and then on the back side there would have been an engine mount, which we're not going to need. So oil tank, I need at least a gallon of oil. So I've measured this out, and if I make the tank about 2.5 inches thick, we should have a little over a gallon quantity plus whatever's in the oil lines. So that's looking good. I'll order some of that material, the carbon fiber, and I gotta weld some little tabs to give me like a place to mount that floor. That'll work out. Now, but Mike, where are you gonna put a fuel tank? So what I'm thinking is, now that we're gonna stretch the frame a little over 3 feet. This is sitting at about 39 inches. I think we could squeeze it down to about 36 if I had to. But I'm still going to have the seat in the stock position up here, but I'm going to have like all this space unused sitting on top. Of course, all of this space in here is going to be occupied by exhaust ducting, and then I'd like to put maybe like a false floor kind of over top of the afterburner situation here and the combustion chamber, just kind of keep the heat off of my tail end. But I'd like to maybe put a small fuel tank just behind the seat, and I'll make like a cover excuse me, a cover that goes over that, so you won't actually see the fuel tank. I'll draw up some sketches and maybe I'll post it in this video, but I think that's the route that I'm going to go. Still haven't got the wheels. I did get a brake, but that doesn't do me any good without the wheels. It's just nice to have it. I got a good deal on it, so I went ahead and got it. Everything's kind of mocked up where it's going to be located. I still need springs, a rear wheel. I got the bushings. It's going to be an interesting situation because I'm not going to have that drive pulley on there, so I've got to make another bushing to replace that drive pulley. It would look kind of stupid having that pulley on there and not using it, and it'd just be more weight, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I've been doing some more research how I'm going to make this frame. I decided I'm going to order the stock frame rails because I need like these ends, and then all I have to do is just cut the frame rail and add a 3-foot section of tubing to reach the other end of the structure there. And then what I'm thinking about doing is kind of a ladder rung reinforcement, because ultimately, like that whole bottom section, those 2 frame rails tied together, and then so hypothetically, let's say we'll come down about an inch or 2 from this connection point, and then I'm going to weld in another piece of frame tubing. It's going to go straight back, and once it gets to the engine mount, it'll turn down and go straight down and tie back into that frame. That'll give me a little more structure up here. And then when I get to it, I'm gonna have to figure out some X bracing to give the rest of the frame some rigidity. Big word. But that's where we are right now. Just money is tight. Time is even tighter. Just I haven't had a whole lot of time to mess with it, but that's kind of where we're at. Okay, so I lied. I didn't actually think I had any more of this red carbon fiber laying around, but since I've got it, I might as well use it, since it's almost already a good size to fit in here. So what I've already done is I laid it in there, and I traced out where I need to cut so she'll fit in there a little bit better. And then I got digging around. You guys probably remember this from the first jet powered go-kart. This was the brains of the whole thing. We've got 8 relays tied into this fuse box. So we got power, ground, and then the relays, they get their power through little blue wires, and the little black wires are the grounds, and the switch input comes in from these white wires. So these will go probably up to like the hand controls. I'm gonna come up with, like, maybe use like the horn button for like the afterburner, stuff like that. We'll figure that out later. And then the yellow wires are power going from the relay out to whatever needs a power supply. So these will be the solenoids for like a solenoid for afterburner fuel, or fuel pumps, oil pump. Well, we're not going to need an oil pump, but fuel pump for the afterburner for sure. But anyway, any kind of solenoids that we have in the system, that'll come off of here. So that'll be perfect. I'm going to go ahead and get this cut, and then we'll mount this somewhere on here. I'll have to squeeze these in a little bit to get them to fit, and we'll mount the board. And I think we're off to a good start for electronics for Project Dark Horse. So here's how I'm going to fix my swing arm situation here. So when you it's stuck, and I've only got one hand. Alright, here's how we're going to do this. So you've got one bushing in here, and then the other bushing goes right up in there. Now normally the engine, actually I want to say it's the transmission, would sit in here, and that holds this bushing up in here. But no, we don't have the stock engine anymore, so I've got a piece of stainless tubing that fits right over the pivot shaft that goes through. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to weld these two washers to the end of this tube, so it'll kind of imitate the stock engine sitting in here. So this bushing is mounted to this flange, but this bushing just kind of sits freely in there. But once we have that engine simulator kind of fixture in here, then I can run that pivot shaft through the swing arm, and that'll take all that slack out of it. So what I ended up doing was I had to measure the overall width, and then I also have to subtract the thickness of both washers that are going to be welded on each side here. So and the tube was a little bit longer than I thought it was going to be. Anyway, I made my marks. I'm just going to go ahead and cut this, and then I'm going to set that flat on there, weld that, and then once that's welded, do the other side, and then we should have our little simulator.